And today I have Mike Sanders, Executive Director of the Broadband Office, and we'll talk about what that is in a minute. But first, you've been around Kingfisher County for like ever.
Forever.
So where did Mike start?
Born and raised in Kingfisher, Jack.
Okay.
My family owned and operated the funeral home. My dad was a funeral director for over 50 years there, and so throughout my life, I was open to that business and helped where I could and when I could. So born and raised in Kingfisher, lived there all my life, with the exception of some spots that we'll get into here in a little bit.
Wow. So graduated from Kingfisher.
Correct.
And where did you higher ed? Where did you go?
I went to Oklahoma Christian University. I was
okay.
I was a Kingfisher high school graduate in 1993, and then went to Oklahoma Christian University, great school. We graduated in 1997 with a Bachelor of Science in History and Pre-Law. It was a double major program at that time, and just enjoyed my time there at Oklahoma Christian.
And so where's all the OU stuff come from?
Well, got me. My parents were very big OU fans, and my older sister went and actually was in the Pride at the University of Oklahoma, and so we just grew up being Sooner fans, and I know we're in the territory that bleeds orange, but we always grew up as Sooner fans, and so that's kind of the connection on that.
All right, we'll get into more of that a little bit later. But you had so you graduated. What was your first real job?
Oh gosh, that's $1 million question. My first real job that paid, because I volunteered. That paid. Because I did a lot of things with cool titles that didn't get paid. I would say in 1998, I was one of the campaign managers for then Senator the late Mike Johnson, auto dealer in Kingfisher, and his son and another gentleman was also, we all kind of had different lanes, different roles, but all three of us kind of helped ran the campaign. Ironically enough, all three of us went on to serve in the State House years and years later. So that was the first paid gig. After that, Congressman Lucas, I joined his campaign in 1998, was his field director there for that operation. But prior to all that, I mean, Governor Keating, Senator Nichols, U.S. Senator Jim Inhofe, I did a lot of volunteer work. I was county coordinators. I was the chairman of the Kingfisher County Republican Party in the late 90s, and was an officer even through college. And so I kind of got my feet wet. But that first check that came through when I finally got paid, Jack, was like, wow, I can actually pay for my own gas now.
Doing this. So why politics? What sent you down that track?
That's a great question. And I have to tell you the story, because if I don't, I would not be giving it justice. In 1984, I remember exactly what spurred my interest in politics. Now, keep in mind, everyone in Kingfisher, where I grew up, they would put signs in the yard, and they would, but I didn't know anything about politics. I didn't know what a Republican was. I didn't know what a Democrat was. But I remember watching the CBS Evening News, Dan Rather. In 1984, I saw this gentleman, and he kept talking about America being that shiny city on a hill. And again, not knowing the differences in the political parties, I listened to his speech and I thought, that's what I want to do. Ironically enough. And I remember turning back, because I was we were on the ground. We didn't have furniture in our house other than like what my parents, the couch and the lazy boy, and that was his chair. I remember turning back and I said, Dad, that's what I want to do. And I don't think he believed me at first. He's like, son, you can do anything you want. So that then translated into watching him getting that spark to local races then after that. And I remember in November of that year helping the local state rep and the local state senator in their races. I remember staying up. My parents let me stay because we probably went to bed like at 8 o'clock. At that point, I was only 9, so I couldn't stay up late. But Reagan won 49 states, lost Minnesota barely, and then the District of Columbia. I mean, it was a huge landslide, and I was so excited. And that was the birth, that was the kickoff of my political journey, if you will.
At 9 years old.
9 years old.
Holy mackerel.
I know.
So at what point did you become a state representative?
Much later. I did not run for the state house until 2008. So there was a long window between when I had left college and worked for then Senator Mike Johnson and Congressman Lucas. There was a lot of work in between there. After and this is a funny story, okay. When 1999, I'd been out of college, I'd been working different campaigns and field staff. 1999, they're gearing up for the 2000 presidential race. And I remember faxing my resume. Now, cool, when faxing was cool, right, Jack? But my kids are like, Dad, why don't know what a fax?
Yeah.
But I remember faxing my resume down to Austin, Texas, because that's who I wanted to support. And within 5 minutes, I got a phone call from a gentleman, really, which is weird. But I got a phone call, and I'll never forget it. Scott Douglas was his name. He had several states in Oklahoma. He was a regional coordinator at the time. He had Oklahoma. And he said, how old are you? And that's a very impressive resume. Why don't you come down to Austin, Texas, and I want to talk to you. And I thought this was great. Okay, this is going to be an opportunity. You know, I had been a student volunteer for Bush Quayle in '92, helped in Bush Dole. Those were not successful campaigns. I wanted a successful presidential campaign. So went down to Austin, Texas, and this is a great story. Went down there. It was it was a 3-hour conversation, 3-hour interview.
Oh my gosh!
For 2 hours, 59 minutes, and 30 seconds.
You timed it.
I did. I had the job. Whatever job they had, I knew I had it. Okay. Until the last tidbit, when Scott said to me, "Well, we don't." Now this was in October of 1999. We don't have any jobs here. And we may not have any jobs till the spring. We don't know. But if you want to come down here, volunteer for free, and do whatever is needed to be done as a volunteer, that's up to you, but it'll be a leap of faith. And so I was a little disappointed, as you can imagine, but it was a nice 6-hour trip coming back from Austin to Oklahoma City and then on to Kingfisher. And I thought to myself, you know, my lease is up at the end of this year. I'm going to do it, which is out of character for me usually because it was a huge risk.
Yeah.
I packed up in a U-Haul.
And you were still single?
I was still single.
Okay. So
yep, I was single. I could do it. I could do it.
Okay.
And so moved to Austin, Texas without any guarantee of a job, without anything, and would call in weekly. You know, and they knew I was there. Finally, several months later, they called and said, we have a job. Would you be interested in working with the volunteers and hiring the college interns to coordinate things? I said, absolutely. Took the job without even knowing what it paid. Because money was getting pretty thin, because living in Austin at that time, you know, and wasn't paying the bills, working for free, but it all worked out. Worked on the Bush campaign, successful campaign. Florida was interesting, 36 days down there, and then the opportunity of a lifetime came when I'd planned to come back to Austin, Texas, had a job lined up to work in politics. But then I received a phone call from a 202-456-1414 number. And I thought, this is DC. Okay, because I turned down a couple things there. Had no interest in going to DC, to be honest. But this time it was different because it was the White House. That's the White House switchboard number. So that's, at that time it was. And so they were asking, because they hadn't hired a director of White House interns. And there hadn't been a program the last 2 years of the Clinton administration, for obvious reasons, but they needed an intern program. The most high-profile internship you could have in the world,
Yeah.
really. And since I had done that on the campaign, they asked if I was interested. I mean, there was no hesitation.
Heck yeah.
Absolutely. They said, okay, send us your resume. We'll set up another interview. But I knew at that point I felt good enough to fly up there. Very quick trip, found an apartment. And then, I mean, I had no time. I mean, I really had like 2 weeks to get up there and find a place to live, pack my stuff up,
Yep.
ship it up there, and then start working. And so it happened like that. I stayed on a friend's couch for a couple weeks while my apartment was getting ready. And in fact, it was Senator Johnson's son that I stayed with him. And I really am grateful for him for that. And so that's kind of how it all started.
So did you work in the White House or in an office building?
Very few people actually work inside the White House.
Really?
And actually, oh yeah.
So it's not an office building?
No,
Okay.
it's they call it the mansion. But other than career staff, the work staff will either work in the West Wing, which, by the way, I love that show with NBC had for years and years and years. Looked nothing like that. Was nothing like that, Jack.
TV. Yeah.
TV, because it's very small and very quiet. And the same with the East Wing. That's usually where congressional affairs were, as well as the First Lady's office. But over in the West Wing, that's where the Oval Office is. That's where the press room is. All of that. But 90% of the White House staff actually worked in the building to the west, the old executive office building.
Huh.
That's where my office was.
Okay.
Room 147.
Okay. Wow. Very, very cool. So what was next after that? Is that when you decided you wanted to try something on your own? Or?
Not quite, not
Okay.
quite. I served as the director of the intern program for the first term for President Bush, 43. Then knowing, always in the back of my mind, I wanted to run. I always knew that I wanted to run for office. I wanted to serve my community. It was just in my DNA. But I knew, being the director of White House interns, I needed a little bit more meat and potatoes, if you will.
Yeah.
So I took a political position over at the Department of Agriculture called USDA Rural Development. Was a mission area, probably one of the best kept secrets in government, because they provide funding for small rural communities across the country.
Wow.
This is where I learned first about broadband, actually. This is how long we've been talking about broadband.
Okay.
But we'll get into that in a minute. But community facility grants, fire trucks, water towers, sidewalks, the movie theater in Kingfisher, which I know a lot of people here in the county helped support.
Biggest fan? Sure.
Absolutely. That was part of a USDA. In fact, I came back to help dedicate that. I was still part of USDA Rural Development at that time. So it's a great mission area. And I was the deputy chief of staff there. And then had an opportunity to become the senior advisor to the Natural Resources Conservation chief. And again, knowing conservation and economic development are two major pillars in an area where I grew up and wanting to serve, I knew those were two areas that I needed to be better educated on. And I did that for a year. And then the opportunity to come back home to run for office occurred. And that's when I ran in 2008.
Wow. Well, where in there did you meet your wife?
Haha, great. In between there, met Nellie in 2006.
Okay.
And ironically enough, we were at an event where President Bush was speaking, and I knew her date and did not know who she was, but I knew her date. And we kind of did he was on the other side of the room, I was on the other side, and we kind of did the guy thing. We kind of just, cocked the head back and acknowledged, and then I thought, that's a very attractive young lady. So I moved my way over and started a conversation, and we visited pretty much the rest of the evening. And a couple weeks later, because I'd been traveling with the undersecretary a lot, didn't have an opportunity to reach out to her, but thought, well, I knew her name. Her name at the time was Nellie Ross. So I just Googled up Nellie Ross, and come to find out, couldn't find her, but I found her great-grandmother, who happened to be the first female governor of the United States in Wyoming.
Oh my gosh.
So I saw a picture of her.
So she has a political background.
Her family does.
Okay.
She doesn't, but her family does. Ironically enough, it's kind of come full circle, because She recently stepped down as the Secretary of Education for the state in Governor Stitt's administration. So she did kind of play a little bit in the political world, but her family had a lot of history. Her great-grandfather was first governor. He passed away, and then in a special election, her great-grandmother became the governor and beat Texas, by the way, by 16 days. They always say Ma Ferguson was the first female governor. Not so. It was Nellie Taylor Ross. And so met Nellie, finally got her number. I won't bore you with all the details, but finally got her number, asked her out, went on a date, and 18 years later, here we are.
What a deal. So you were, how long did you serve?
Served 12 years. I did all 12 years. Oklahoma, as you know, has term limits.
Yep.
So was chairman of the subcommittee on transportation. So a lot of transportation funding came through my office. Then became the majority leader my last 4 years for then Speaker McCall. And then also during that time, I was the utilities chairman. So bills that pertain to energy, utilities, all came through my committee.
Seeing a thread here.
Yes, sir.
So when you left your position, you did something else. You went back to DC for a bit?
Nope.
I thought you did.
Nope. As soon as I did my 12 years, and it was an honor of a lifetime. Loved serving. I started my own company.
I missed that part.
Yep. I started my own company, Sanders Strategy and Consulting Group. We did a lot of community development, community growth. Obviously with background in USDA rural development, working with small communities throughout the western part of the state, help put them in contact and with filling out grant applications and things along those lines. Also did some strategy, did some work with some media folks to help get their messaging out. So I did that for two plus years. And then I got a call one Wednesday morning at 7:40 from a number I didn't realize, asking me to take a look at this broadband position. So, but we can get into that here in a minute.
Wow. Well, I have a broadband story. That I was working in northern Montana, 20 miles from the closest town, in a barn, and I was needing to do something with some files. We're on a film production, and I said, "Geez, I wish we had internet here." And the guy says, "We have fiber in the barn." It's like, so how'd you do that? I was mad. I was mad because at that time, Oklahoma, it was like
DSL, copper,
yeah,
dial-up.
We were maybe just off of dial-up, but DSL wasn't hitting it. And so I came home mad enough that I ran for the Pioneer Board to try to fix it. Not knowing that, it takes a long time to get this going and working with the federal, programs and things like that. And in fact, my house is on the line. They ran a line from wherever it comes from through my front yard to the wind farm offices that are out south of town.
Yeah, but didn't get you.
They missed me.
Yep.
So I threatened to go out there with jumper cables. And they finally, I was that guy that called every day. Hey, come on.
Yep.
And because I was officing at the house at that time. And it would take 30 minutes to an hour to upload one of my videos. We were doing big video projects at the time. And finally I wore them down. They sent an engineer out, said, yes, we can do this. And they actually let me make my own splice.
Oh.
So they pulled the trailer in and I'm in there. And
Isn't that cool?
That was pretty neat.
I mean,
yeah.
absolutely.
Now they have better tools. But,
sure.
Back then it was like the little cutter thing and hooked it all up. And so I was the first one in outside of city limits to have the true fiber.
It's a game changer.
Oh, it absolutely is. Well, the problem is, though, I used to be able to double do things. Like I would send something to upload and I'd go off and do something else. Well, the first time I uploaded something, it was gone.
Yep.
Like, okay, this is good and bad. I got to keep working.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You don't have that 30-minute window. It's like 3 seconds and it's done. Yes,
so
that's exactly right.
That completely changed how we were able to operate.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was a true economic development thing for us. And
Yep.
so so now let's talk about, you got the job. What's
Yep.
it about? Why is it important?
To your story. For years and years, people have been talking about getting that last mile, that final connection. The major hindrance was cost.
Yep.
You could run a line, which we would call middle mile, to a wind farm or an oil and gas site or whatever the case might be. And along the way, there are 10 homes. Well, but nothing would connect because those are last mile connections. So, but those are expensive. And so for years and years and years, they have tried to mail piece this, hodgepodge. There's 5 or 6 different entities, federal government entities that play in the broadband space. But it wasn't until 2021. And the ARPA monies were coming out. And then the IIJA bill was passed that year or the year after that. But I have to say, I give the legislature 100% credit, because most states, when they receive those monies, the ARPA monies from the federal government, they put it into healthcare or education or whatever the case might be. And those are all great. But during that time, it exposed a black eye on our state, because kids would have to go to McDonald's parking lot to get hotspots or medical appointments, whatever the case might be.
I heard of some stories where they would Wi-Fi a school bus and park it in a neighborhood.
Oh, I believe it.
And so the kids in that little area got...
And Jack, we live in the United States.
Yeah.
That should not happen. So when all of this was coming from the federal government, the Oklahoma legislature had the foresight and vision to say, we're going to put some of this money to ARPA, from ARPA to broadband. And so it took a little while to get everything up and running. There was an interim director for 6, 7, 8 months, at the broadband office. In fact, these funny stories just keep following me. I hired my chief of staff, and he came in, and we had a wall you could write on the wall, and we got to do this, this, and that. And I said, whoa. First thing we need internet in this office. And he looked at me and he goes, "Are you kidding me?" I'm like, No. The broadband office, which is asked to deploy millions of dollars, we first need to get internet. Which I know it's comical then or now, but then it was like, that's kind of a big deal. So we got the internet finally, put in the right people, the right policies and procedures. In early 2024, we put $374 million of ARPA broadband build out to communities across the state. Now that doesn't even count the matching dollars that these companies participated in. And then later that year, in September of 2024, we were able to do another ARPA program called Capital Projects Fund, $159 million plus matching dollars into the broadband scope. Now, the legislature told me they wanted 95% connectivity, 95% have access by the end of 2026.
Wow.
We're going to meet that because we have a tremendous amount of money. We have a tremendous amount of workforce. We have a tremendous amount of responsibility and accountability put into these processes, and I give great credit to my team for this. We're going to have over 100,000 Oklahomans served with high-speed internet by the end of this year for the first time in state history. So that year was the most historic year in broadband investment.
So what about, so you've got it to where it needs to go for the most part now. Is there anything being done with affordability? Because I know that our local provider has all these different plans.
Sure.
But there's still some of them that are pretty, steep. Is there
Yep.
anything that we can help with?
Yes. And when these ARPA programs, CPF and our state and local fiscal recovery fund, which are ARPA monies, there was a state, when we put in our plans, we had to put in an affordability plan. And the same with our final project or program. $60 is what we were approved to do and what we wanted. We felt that was the right number because it really boils down to speed. At one particular time, and you know this because you're in this business, 25 down, 3 up was considered served.
Yeah.
Jack, you and I can run faster than that.
Yeah.
So now it's 100 down, 20 up, minimum.
Yep.
But most are doing 100 symmetrical.
100 both directions.
That's exactly right. And some are even higher than that. Fixed wireless has really improved over the years. There's a lane for them. But what I'm really proud about the legacy of this office is these first 2 programs that we're administering, 83% are fiber. And it's the gold standard. I don't think anyone would argue against that. Is it more expensive on the front end? Sure. But it lasts the longest. It's the most reliable, most resilient, and the most scalable, which I think is very, very important because as technology increases and improves, you don't have to redo your equipment. You can just, with a flick of a switch, you can
send.
That's right.
Send some more light.
That's exactly right.
You have to remember it's fiber optic. So
That's
it's
right.
Light traveling down a thread.
That's exactly, of glass.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people don't realize.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I didn't either when I first took this. So this has been a learning experience, but I am so proud of where we've come and where we're going and what we came from because finally, after years of talking about it, we are now doing it. And the fact that we're going to have 95% connectivity by the end of this year is a tremendous feat.
So this is pardon the train.
Oh, it happens.
The progress.
That's right.
So does that mean at the end of this year you're going to be out of a job?
Oh no.
So
No.
What's next with this?
Well, what's next is we still have to go through a final. We have a program that we still have to administer, which will be more money than the first 2 that we administered through ARPA. Now, I can't talk a lot about it because it hasn't been approved yet. And I have a company policy. We're not going to be talking about it until it approves.
Sorry.
No, Jack. You didn't know that.
Went down the road.
No. But it will be substantial. And you think about, well, you've got 5% more, figuratively speaking. But those are the most difficult, most expensive places to put high-speed internet because, and most people, I can guarantee you, don't know this. Oklahoma is a very unique state for a variety of reasons. Our terrain, we have 10 different types of terrain, number 1. Number 2, we have 39 sovereign tribal nations that we work with. And we have a great relationship with them. They've been really good partners. We have 77 sets of county commissioners. We have, out west is pretty flat. East, you have trees, you have rock, you have hills. I will not call them mountains. We have hills. So it's just a different environment. But those last 5%, our goal is to get to 100. We are on our way. Again, this is going to be an ever evolving because
technology just won't stop.
It won't stop. And housing additions are going to be built outside communities. Communities are going to grow. And there's a moment of time when these projects are selected. That's what we have. We can't think about, well, what's it going to be like in 5 years? I don't know those plans.
Yeah, in 5 years, we're going to laugh at 100 meg up and down. Bingo. So to answer your question, no. As long as we continue to deliver, my board, obviously I work for the board that we have, 9 terrific members. No, we have a job to do. We're going to continue. We're going to finish strong. We're going to get Oklahomans connected. That's what I said to the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the other officials at the state capitol. Not only will we meet that 95%, we're going to go above that. We're going to meet the demands of today and plan for tomorrow. So I'm very excited where we are and where we're going. Wow, that is so cool. Awesome.
Very fascinating.
Mike, thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
Absolutely. Enjoyed it, Jack.
I learned all kinds of things today. So I'm excited to see where it's going. I'm a hardcore techie anyway, and
that's right.
So it's fun for me to learn how all this stuff works.
It's a neat. It's been a very neat experience and journey. And you know, Oklahoma is right up there with all the rest of the states, Jack, as far as where we're going. There's no longer this idea of, you know, we still have, you know, dirt roads and you know, running water in certain areas. This is going to change the trajectory of what people think about our great state, and we can compete with the world. And I'm happy to play a small role in that.
Well, thank you for that.
You bet. Thank you.
Stay tuned.